4th of November, 9:30 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh shit, we're not even going to the defendant's antechamber. Okay, hey guys, Lex here, back for some more of the Great Ace Attorney. Last time we took a quick break from the trial, and we found out about a lot of shit. Yeah, so let's continue. Before we begin it today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. And the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve, yes, that's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Sogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in the plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life, for the last 10 years, it's all been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma, whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Kazuma's bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression that we're heading into a very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted the prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume. Nah. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare the court to be in session again. We resume the closing hearings of Barak von Zieks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. How could you be more than ready? As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls as the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jikoku into the courtroom. At last, then, we've reached the final battle. But he's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Ryunoske, it's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
Huh. So it was you who issued this, was it?
Your subpoena, I did what was necessary.
Look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you'd take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jikoku, Supreme Court Judge from the Empire of Japan.
16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I'm of course fully aware of Mr. Chikogu and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in negotiations. I put my all into that treaty.
Judge Chikogu, I must ask.
Well, I never fancied a young murdering student turning up here of all places. You acquitted me yourself.
And now, I'm a practicing defense lawyer.
Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see.
Came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France.
Took flight? I have to object to that turn of phrase.
And explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances?
Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say I declined to comment.
Oh.
What? Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that.
So you would run from all this?
I beg your pardon?
This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now.
A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right, and you, Judge Shikoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunoske, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Toshiro Chikogu is involved in this case? Is it this one? No. No. Wait. Oh wait, okay. Okay, I was like looking for Judge Chikogu's name, it's on the description.
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing the communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained four names: Keisogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. Hold it. You little. Oh, where did you get that? Your office?
In Tokyo.
From your office, Judge Chikogu? What? How on earth did you? What's this all about? Why is my name on that list?
This list of four names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. Keisogi and Nation are the name of assassins.
No.
A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A. Shin, the victim J. Wilson. And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Sogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. Keisogi and T. Gregson, one assassin from each country, to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting?
These two cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. The telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill.
What?
Telegram was found in your office, Judge Shikoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you.
Judge Chikoku, what's this all about?
And you, Kazuma. You lied.
Huh?
During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Shikoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of the Scotland Yard, as shown by the name of the killing contract.
Very impressive, Ryunoske. But actually, I didn't lie.
The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday.
The idea that Shishiro Chikoku was the mark came entirely from you.
Oh, got him. You deliberately avoided saying a name.
The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say the various idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Chikoku, what do you have to say for yourself?
Silence only goes to prove his guilt. No, it doesn't. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Shikoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court.
There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then, as a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord.
All these deep voices are almost as bad as all the high voices. Almost. Witness testimony. Assassin exchange.
It's true that Kazuma Sogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved.
The money in the back of his pocket. So you admit it then, as this communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan.
A political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I could discuss here.
To use such a worthy practice as a foreigner study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard.
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge.
Pardon?
Soki had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know.
What?
Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
Kazuma-sama.
Judge Shikoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, tell the court the identity of the counterpart in Britain. I'm not obliged to divulge that information.
Oh.
As yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night that plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassination exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case.
No, it's not.
What? The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk.
Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew would have heard it. That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barak van Zieks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly, it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Be that as may, it's not the place of this court to pursue the villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned with the tangible offense pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, counsel? Oh, but it's so interesting. Yes, my lord. Keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Cross-examination. Assassin exchange. It's true.
Hold it!
You said it's true. A year ago, when Kazuma was still in Japan then. Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants for the study tour that I approached him. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright if I'd consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission. Surely not. I thought it was a joke at first, of course, but then it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. So, you agreed to it just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but assassination? The Empire of Japan had accepted the proposal from the British Empire at the time. An agreement to send a student from each country to the others to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. I had no choice but accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart. Why? Why didn't you expose the plot there and then? Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations, Foreign Minister Jikoku. As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord. Anyway, I picked a Sogi and explained the details of the plan to him.
Hold it!
Why Kazuma? Why did you pick him as the assassin? He had a sword. He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong. In fact, it was almost more than desire. It was his whole purpose in life. Yes, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer, it was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on a study tour to Britain. Of course, we know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Ken Shinasogi. There was nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust. Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying mine, Asogi. But why was Inspector Gregson the target? I have no idea. Those were the orders from Britain. I was in no position to question them. You have no idea, really? I find that hard to believe. Oh, do you? Judge Jacobu was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time. The defense really ought to catch up. With what? The fact that the assassin exchange has absolutely nothing to do with the case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi. However, in the end something happened that met the open.
Hold it!
I Presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January? The awful tragedy that took place on the steamship? Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body somehow got missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on this ship to accompany the assassin. Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all. But he did lose his memory, including all details about his special mission. Did you not consider dispatching on the assassin at that point? That wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Soki's replacement. There was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. My hands were completely tied.
Mr. Shum's strategy worked perfectly.
He predicted everything that would happen. Months later, my memory returned, but I never intended to go through with the assassination mission in any way. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it? I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. This line of questioning has gone long enough. All the court should be concerned about is the testimony given by this witness, and the details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the man or his death. You have some means of substantiating this plea. Question. What's his name? Chicken stroganoff. Outside your cabin in the first-class area of the SS Grouse, you mean? Yes, that's right. Not least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. The liner operators have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door. I can confirm the presence of a crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night, I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door to the witness's cabin. At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner. The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Chicago's return. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as the Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. The crewman led 2 potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding. Not the most convincing of centuries, really. In truth, those were my thoughts too. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while, and then I left him there and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went? Yes. He glared at me as I walked past. You see, that proves it. If there had been another shot fired, the crew would have heard it. Crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean? That's right. Muscular man with a permanent grim expression on his face. He didn't once move from that spot. To be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now. There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by gunshot, and it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that.
But wait, what about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the guns being fired.
Sadly, young judicial assistant, that won't wash.
Oh.
You will recall that my cabin was in the first-class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage where the judicial assistants go.
I didn't mean...
but a hole like that made by a bullet was found in your cabin, Judge Shikoku. That's compelling evidence that a gun was fired in there. What's that? A bullet hole? Oh yes. You're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by woodworm. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet. That's the hole in this argument. Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewmen to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question that the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot, and would have never made it to Britain in the first place. Very true. Logic is sound. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth. I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord. I know Kazuma already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock.
It's unforgivable. Using Kazuma-sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan.
But I think Kazuma manipulated Judge Shijoku too. He's completely double-crossed him.
Oh dear. It's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma-sama's part.
One way or another, though, Grixon ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard that steamship.
So you mean?
Judge Shikoku must be lying.
I know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment, but you must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo.
Okay. Okay, Okay, got it.
Objection!
Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Shikoku's cabin. However, we could be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at the time. The guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. What? Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts, and during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Shikoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime.
Objection!
20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunoske. But it amounts to nothing. Oh, why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin, unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel. Inspector Grixon was killed in Judge Shikoku's cabin that night. I'm sure of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. You will present evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Judge Shikoku's cabin on the 31st? Was it this?
Take that!
Judge Shikoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch? A pocket watch? And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know that he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Ugh. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Shikoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. Grr. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. In the cabin occupied by you, Judge Shikoku. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, young murderer? Yeah, I killed no one.
Objection!
Expertly maneuvered, Ryunoske. Huh? Thanks. And your argument sounds entirely possible. At first. But rather, like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Shikoku feels the same way. Duh. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. Oh, why are you so mean to me? I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what really happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall in which you've stumbled. Well, you didn't give me enough evidence to... Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge she was there, I presume. Yes, I do. Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st of October. Of course, I am a man of the law. I have no intention of obstructing justice. Justice. Witness testimony. The events of the cabin. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with a ippon sail throw, though. Couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed, having returned to Britain, because his body was found in London. Ippon sail. A common jujutsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So Ryunoske Naruhodo, I imagine you could see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there.
Oh, God.
I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell. Let me express my deepest gratitude for your understanding, my lord. But if this testimony holds, Judge Shikoku will be deemed to have had no involvement in the case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine. I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten. Hey. That case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. Cross-examination. The events in the cabin.
Hold it!
Because the so-called guard that posted on your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean? Apparently, Gregson told the crewman he was a police inspector, which was the truth, of course. He wouldn't have had his identification with him, though.
He had his trench coat and mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced. But the man accompanying him would have had 2 swords slung around his waist. Yeah, why does he only have... Oh, never mind, he has both. You mean me? Who else? Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. You would have hoped that the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head. The point is, I left the cabin before its occupant had returned, and I immediately disembarked the ship. Certainly. All I could tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back in my cabin. What? And you entered without any inkling of suspicion. That's right. None whatsoever. When I walked through the door, Mustaches...
Hold it!
Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson? Yes, though at the time I didn't know the man's name. There was no time for introductions. I value my life over manners. By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose? That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. But I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there was no time to call for help with the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself.
Hold it!
Even though the man had a gun, that was a very brave move, wasn't it? My Ippon-seo is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you. Surely all that commotion caused for the crewman to come in, didn't it? Yes, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. Inspector hurled himself at the stocky fellow, and had just managed to slip past him to make his escape. The outstanding guard does it again. Luckily there aren't as many situations I can't get out of using a quick Ippon-seo throw. Wait, then how did the bullet get him then? Let's just keep going.
Hold it!
The crown snapped off the glass covering the face. The watch was cracked. Preferable to the man's head being pulled off his spine cracking, wouldn't you say? Not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place. Absolutely not. All the watch proves is the power of my jutsu throw. Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in that cabin. Because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall. What are you talking about? Huh? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, is it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin. The inspector was clearly killed, having returned to Britain.
Hold it!
But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think the idea of yours through now, stripling. What? If the inspector was killed on a steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at the same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Well, yes, that's true, but all passenger luggage is inspected when it's unloaded from arriving vessels. And I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body to Britain. That's got that idea then.
But perhaps not.
Mrs. Atto?
We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in sea.
Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative.
Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you?
Huh?
I thought I'd be perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony with your consent, of course, my lord.
Perfect.
I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. There's no possible way I could have gone. Let's open it up.
Oh wait, there was blood here. Just give this.
Objection!
Aw, man.
Oh no, I meant to press it.
So that's the story.
Well, I suppose if you think about it, whenever you drop a teacup in the office and it breaks, we don't say, Mr. Naruhodo must have been murdered there, do we?
Is that a veiled threat about what might happen to me if I break another one?
And the fact is that Inspector Gregson's body was found in a little room on Fresno Street. If he really was killed in Judge Shikoku's cabin.
The body would have been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country border, that would be impossible for the majority of people. So there must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit then.
It could be a vile realization, I think, Mr. Naruhodo.
Wait a minute. Wait, do I just need to examine it? Did I examine the side? Look at the start stain here.
So I'm afraid so. I think it's blood.
Ah, I knew you were going to say that, so presumably that means...
This was present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. It's the most logical conclusion, yes.
I think Regina's been carrying this around with her. I didn't know about her. I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. Is there anything else I could give? Let's press this last one though. There's an idea.
Think about it, stripling. All passengers and crew disembarked at the same time and passed through the same checks at the border. The symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages organized by the ministry.
And we met you as soon as you arrived in that hotel.
So you did. Well then, remind me, did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time? Yes?
What? No.
So you were in agreement then. I couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Unless, of course, they've been developed some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B. Funny you should say that.
Professor Hairbrain's legend didn't actually work if you remember, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, of course. The defense has become unusually quiet, I notice. Just because there's really nothing more to say.
That's a story.
You're supposed to think about it whenever you...
Oh wait, I already read that. Wait a minute.
It's a huge trunk.
Objection!
There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true.
What's that supposed to mean?
Far from being impossible for you to do. See, I was looking for that trunk! The transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Ryunoske? as well as being a judge, Mr. Chikogu is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched while he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Wait, did we? Oh. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. Oh yeah, he did say that. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? I knew you were jealous. Oh. I presume you recall this, Judge Shikoku. That was a month ago. Play. It's the photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. He could even fit himself inside.
Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting...
I'm afraid I am. Yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Grigson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Shikoku's trunk. Ugh. Oh shit. Order in the court. I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. Could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk, and verifying would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Shikoku?
But inside his trunk, how horrifying.
And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, I had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street. Taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Corey, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged that there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between. Yes, I'm sure they are, but one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electronically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. This SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikotoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Shikoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Well, this is all very heartening. Huh? I could see that it was a wise move to let the Sogi and you embark on the study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already.
Judge Shikoku, please, stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond?
Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there?
Why ever not?
Because before you could even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. The actual scene of the crime? The prosecution's stance is unaltered. Killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused Barack Francis shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecutor's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly? I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here.
How could you say that?
Quite simply, because the claims directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our position.
Oh.
Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Okay guys, I think I'm gonna episode here, and then next time we'll continue with the trial. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.